feeling?
Good.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry. This is on. I didn't know.
It's almost the weekend.
It's almost the weekend. Yeah. So I'd like to introduce Lindsay Anderson, who is the Strategic Account Executive with Magnitude Software, and her accounts include Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. And she is someone who I've partnered with in the past as a marketing executive, with her as on my sales counterpart. So we have a very closely aligned view on how sales and marketing can work effectively together. So we wanted to talk today a little bit about how to do that well. Strategic accounts are different than conventional commercial accounts. And so Lindsay, maybe you'd start by telling the group a little bit about how a strategic account is different and how selling as a strategic account executive is different.
Sure, no problem. First of all, I should say that I am a strategic account manager now, but I have also been head of sales. I've also built global account programs, and even way back in the day, I ran marketing, so I have an interesting perspective on this problem. So I think first it's important to understand what we define as a strategic account or major account or whatever you want to call them. In that case, typically these are accounts that represent a significant portion of a company's revenue or have the potential to do so. They typically have a more complex buying cycle or buying process. In addition, they're often globally distributed, have multiple divisions or product lines, and so they're a little tougher to sell to. But for them to be particularly successful, you need to have a very collaborative relationship to make sure that they are long-term relationships.
And so what do you look for in a sales executive for that type of account?
So a sales executive for an account like that typically needs to be someone who can manage all the different touch points inside the account, kind of between the two companies. They need to be a control freak in order to do that, really. And that's an important point. The next thing is they need to be able to clearly understand what the customer's challenges are, and to do that you need to be a master relationship builder and a great storyteller to be able to build that messaging, because the messaging is very unique to a strategic account. So they have to be able to permeate that message throughout the account in order to get that revenue closed.
So what does a strategic account executive need from marketing that's different than what a commercial account manager would need?
Well, oftentimes marketing is working on messaging for a broader audience set. And that strategic account manager is going to be kind of managing the messaging for their account. So what they're going to need from marketing is support for their unique messaging. They'll typically ask for more leads and support for events, but really what they need that they don't ask for is help with cross-selling. And one of the things that I've been successful with in working with marketing is leading strategy sessions with customers that we call ideation sessions, where you take a part of the account that you've been very successful with and get their sponsorship to identify another group within the company to hold a strategy session with. And the teams get together. It's ideal if you can get the customer to lead the session. And you basically talk about the successes that we've had together in one part of the account, and then lead a brainstorming discussion on how we can generate more, solve problems that group has. And how marketing can help with that is by, of course, creating that deck up front, helping to orchestrate pieces of that, and then lots of help with the follow-up.
So that's essentially account-based marketing for a strategic account.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So if it's that tailored to the specific account that's being worked, You obviously can't take a general purpose campaign and apply it against that. So what does the partnering look like between marketing and the strategic account executive? And how would you advise a marketer getting started on implementing an account-based marketing program for strategic accounts?
So I think one of the challenges that marketing has is getting the major account manager to engage and really start working together. So my recommendation to marketing is, number one, try to identify those areas in the account that are underdeveloped that could become an opportunity. And here's a secret hint would be to go talk to the solution engineer that works with that major account and say, what are the areas that you think there's opportunity but we haven't been able to break into? So you're really walking into the major account manager and saying, here are 5 areas we think we can help you with. Let's sit down and come up with a strategic plan. And again, I would say hold a little workshop, internally to figure out what that is, how marketing and sales together could go after those. So here's a case where you're being additive to the sales plan around that account and can start demonstrating real value.
So the strategic account executive has a plan for their account.
Yes.
And marketing is saying, hey, we want to help you expand beyond what you already have in your plan.
Yep.
And we're going to work with you to develop this strategic account, this account-based approach to extending your account into new areas of that business.
That's correct.
So that sounds like a very high touch on the marketing side. Are we talking a dedicated marketer for each strategic account, or are we talking one to at least a handful?
Well, on the sales side, it depends on the size of the account, but on the sales side, typically it's 1 to 3 accounts.
And how many marketers are needed to support one strategic account manager with an account-based marketing plan?
It's probably 1 to 1. It's probably pretty close to that.
So that's a pretty resource-intensive approach.
Is.
So if we have a commercial account-based marketing program that we're doing with our regular account managers, and we want to initiate a strategic account-based marketing program, how would you start? Would you start with one account, get some success, and then resource the next window of time, like the next year, around an expansion to a larger number of accounts?
Definitely. I think it's much easier to expand into other accounts once you can point to the success, particularly given the investment level that's needed.
And what kind of resistance are we going to see from the strategic team to having marketing work with them on expansion?
Well, once again, they're going to be control freaks. So, and the reason that they are is, sorry if there's anybody out there I offended, I'm sorry. But the reason that they are is they become very protective around how the company engages, how their own company engages with the customer. So I think that letting them be a control freak and getting them very involved and the ability to say yes or no to various things is very important. This isn't really a process problem as much as it is an interpersonal problem. So making sure that you're highly engaged and in lockstep and communicating. And remembering also that even though you did a plan and 6 months ago we were going to do X on this date, you need to check back in because the customer's strategic priorities may have changed. Therefore, the account manager's strategic priorities may have changed in that time.
So the marketing person assigned to do this account-based work with the strategic account team needs to have a different degree of flexibility in their timelines and their deliveries, or how does that need for agility play out?
I think the need for agility is high. I would agree. So.
And have you seen this successfully work in an organization where there isn't a formal account-based marketing program?
I have, and I think that the points that we've discussed make sense whether you're doing account-based marketing or a traditional lead gen kind of style or something completely different. Just because strategic accounts are so important, they're a huge chunk of revenue. The people that run those are unique, and they're kind of special requirements for engaging.
And how would you measure the success of such a program? As the strategic account executive, if marketing worked with you and successfully helped you expand the program, how would you report the measure of that success?
I think it's opportunity creation and ultimately revenue.
Why do you think this isn't done more?
I think it's a high degree of investment that's required. I also think that sales can get in the way. Oftentimes you can't do a top-down push on major account managers because the CEO is going to say, but he's got Satya's phone number and Satya picks up. I can't fire him. He did 60 million last year. So sort of a top-down thing doesn't work. So I think there's enough friction in the relationship getting started that often it just doesn't gel well.
So would you recommend assigning a marketing person to report to the strategic account executive?
As a strategic account manager, I would say yes. But I think that the marketing efforts could get diluted in that model. So, just making sure you've got somebody that works really well cross-functionally and can kind of work with both teams is important.
How high ROI have you seen for this kind of work? Yeah, you said 60 million. Let's say we're doing 60 million through the strategic account. Marketing comes in and works with your team on areas of the business that you have not been focused on, so expansion business. How much lift from 60 million to what?
Well, let's see. I just closed a deal at the end of September that required, it was with a large account who shall remain nameless. It was with a large account, our largest account actually, and I was able to work together with marketing and product and services to design a completely new service offering for a customer and did a $16 million deal.
And that compares to what size business you were doing with that customer before?
That would have been about a 25% increase.
Okay, so that's a substantial
Huge.
number.
It's huge.
So as you move forward, will you continue to work with that same marketer and product person to rinse and repeat that, or was that a one-off, do you think?
Yes, definitely we're going to continue to do that. Also, we're going to broaden create a standard product offering around what we develop for that strategic customer. And I think that's an important thing to remember too, is that oftentimes these very strategic accounts where you have a very close relationship with them, you can get great insight into what directions products can go.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point that I think is not always captured, that there is a loop back from the strategic account that's different than the loop back from the broader commercial accounts, that has a different weight, maybe not heavier weight, but a different weight, doesn't it?
Different, yes.
Yeah. So one of the audience members wanted to know, how is recruiting strategic account managers changed in the digital age?
Well, everybody uses LinkedIn now, right? So I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe it's just finding people in a different way or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and are you finding that as a strategic account person that you are doing what some of the panels earlier recommended on the influencer marketing and using customers inside your large accounts to influence other buyers inside those same accounts?
Yep.
Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
And we were talking
Bob
about
example.
Yeah, the
yes.
Bob example that Bob is your big customer and a big fan and is a sort of evangelist for the company, the product inside that company. How much do you bring Bob in to the next group to talk with them or use Bob's experience as leverage as you're selling across the organization?
Well, it really depends on political dynamics, right? It's always great to have an internal reference, but if Group A hates Group B, then you don't want to bring Bob in. So you have to pay a lot of attention to the dynamics there.
Okay, so that's really helpful. Is there anything else you'd like to say in the last minute that we have with the group to help them understand how to better partner with strategic sales to market effectively into strategic accounts?
What I would say is that, number one, understand that strategic account managers, much like strategic accounts, are all unique. It's an interpersonal challenge and not a process challenge to engage with them. Engaging with these accounts has a really big payback if you're able to do it. So
That's a good summary, actually. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
sure.
Yeah.
All right.